Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, I want to talk to you about an idea that I heard from a conservative talk show host, and I absolutely hate this idea. Okay, now I'm not going to tell you who the person is because I'm not interested in fighting the man. I want to fight the idea. Okay, and what he suggested that should be done is that federal lands should be sold off. To pay off the national debt or a portion of it. And the problem that I have there is that basically he's suggesting that we should basically sell off our national treasures, right, to be destroyed essentially, so that we can pay off a fictitious debt, okay? Because that's what it amounts to. So we're destroying a real treasure to pay a phony debt, and I'll go into details on this. Okay, so basically, first of all, like when I say national treasure, I mean to me this what you see here. This is our treasure. Okay, the shopping malls, the casinos, the hotels, all the stuff that you see in cities. I mean to me that's all garbage. Okay, so what this person was suggesting that the national land should be sold. Now he was specifically talking about selling it to oil companies so that they could, drill it. Okay, and of course, anytime they're drilling it, they're gonna, obviously, there's always gonna be something that's spilled. But that's not the point. Even if nothing is spilled, if at some point they're gonna be done with it and they're gonna sell it off because now they're gonna try and flip the land, and it's gonna end up in the hands of some developer who's gonna try to pull it up some kind of a building or, and and the point is that why do that when you have you have cities like Detroit that are like falling apart. Before we start trying to destroy the forest, go to places like Detroit, go to places like New York, go to New Jersey, go to Los Angeles, to all these decrepit cities, and fix that. Because what they've done is basically they've taken that land, they've destroyed that, and now they're trying to go someplace else and destroy fresh land. Okay, so that's the first part of my problem. Okay, the second part of my problem with this is that the fact that they're doing this to pay off a fictitious debt. Okay, now let me put things into perspective. Okay, the last time I checked the actual numbers of the national debt, back then it was somewhere in the about 18 trillion. By now, I'm sure it's upwards of 20 trillion, maybe 22 trillion, 25 trillion. I don't know. It doesn't make a difference. It's a made-up number that keeps compounding in a computer. And to put things into perspective, if I tell you a million seconds, okay, that's about 7 days. Okay, if I tell you a billion seconds, that's 31 years. Okay, if I tell you 1 trillion seconds, that's 31,000 years. Okay, so that's a huge number. That is a number that really doesn't exist, unless you're counting like molecules or something. So that type of money doesn't exist. We don't actually owe that money to anybody. All that money basically represents is how much the government has diluted our money. Okay, because the way our monetary system works, okay, the way we create money in our system is, to make it simple, let's say you go and you discover some gold, right? Right? If you discover some gold in your backyard, you take that to your bank and you get a credit line on that gold that the bank is holding for you, right? Because they're going to take your asset and they're going to give you a credit line based on that until you pay it back. They're basically holding your gold. So when they create money, when they create that credit line, the bank is actually creating money. That money didn't exist prior to them making it. Okay. Now the way we typically make money is, instead of giving the bank gold, what we do is we give them the title to our house or to our car. Okay. So every time we take a mortgage out, okay, the bank creates money that did not previously exist. Okay. So that's how money is created. So our money is asset based. Or at least it's supposed to be. Okay, it's asset based. Now the problem here is that the government does not play by the same rules. They want to play our game, but they don't want to play by the same rules. When the federal government goes to borrow money, they're not putting up real assets. Okay, what they're doing is they're putting up a promise to pay, through bonds, treasury bills, notes. Okay, so they're putting up debt. So basically, they're giving themselves an IOU. Okay, so that's how the government basically creates money, and what they're really doing is they're basically printing money. Okay, because that's all that is. It's a form of money printing. There's a limit to how much money we can create, because there's a limit to the amount of assets we have. Okay, and then we actually have to pay that money back with money. Okay, the government, there's no limit to how much money they can borrow, because they're not putting up assets. They're putting up a promise to pay. And the way they go back and pay, the way they've been paying it is they've been, basically going back and promising to pay even more money. So instead of actually making the payments, they're borrowing more money to pay the money that they owe. And what happens is the debt keeps growing and growing, and it's growing. It's growing at such a rate that it's just, the only place where it can possibly exist is in a computer. Okay, so it's nonsense. Prior to the internet, maybe that was believable, because we weren't information was not so easily passed around. So back in the 70s and the 80s, when I was going to school, basically, if I look at all the accounting books and all the economics books, the information was there as far as how the banking system works and how the Federal Reserve works, but it was written in such a way that you really couldn't piece the information together by yourself. Okay, so now what's happened is, since the internet age, basically a lot of people have been, taking bits and pieces and kind of figuring out, small pieces of the puzzle, and then we've kind of put this all together, and we've actually figured out, how the Federal Reserve works, how government's, borrowing and spending works. Okay. And basically, it's just money printing. It's done on a computer, but it's money printing, and the real effect of it is that since what they're really doing is they're diluting our money. They're taxing us, because this money is never going to be paid back. It can't be paid back, because this there's a number like $20 trillion $20 trillion does not actually exist. Okay. So what that money, what that number really represents, is how much money they've printed, and what that means is, basically how much they've diluted our money by. So anytime the government dilutes our money, basically they're reducing the buying power of our money. So in effect, what they're doing is they're taxing us. Okay, so that's what the national debt is. It's basically a hidden tax, on us nationally. Okay, so that's why it makes absolutely no sense to sell off real treasures, okay, to be destroyed by developers, okay, in order to pay off a fictitious debt. Okay, if they really want to do something about it, write it off. It means nothing at this point. The jig is up. We know what that is. We know that, like when they say, "Oh, we're borrowing from our children are going to have to," that's all bullshit. It's just, it's money that's been made up. It's a tax on us here and now, immediately. Okay, they've diluted our money in present day. They've reduced our buying power, so they've taxed us here and now. It's not some type of a, they're not taxing our children in the future. What would be, what would be costly to our children is if they destroyed the national treasures, so that our children don't have those. Like, for example, if they destroy Yellowstone National Park, or if they sell that off to the developer so that they can pay off this national debt, or some of the other parks, that would be the a real loss, to our children. But there's some thoughts for you guys. Post some comments, give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Talk to you guys next time.